Welcome to my channel, Veterans Legacy. Today's story is one that'll touch your heart, make you proud, and maybe, make you think twice before judging someone by what they look like. So sit back, turn up the sound, and get ready, because this isn't just a story about tattoos, it's a story about brotherhood, sacrifice, and the kind of respect that's earned in blood, not ink. It was a humid morning at Camp Pendleton. The young Marines were gathered near the training yard, their laughter echoing between the barracks. The sun was already beating down hard, but the energy was high. They had just wrapped up a week of field exercises, and for once, things felt lighthearted. Among the bustle, an old man shuffled across the concrete path. His faded Marine Corps cap sat low over his wrinkled brow. He wore a loose denim jacket, torn at the cuffs, and boots that had seen more years than most of the recruits there had been alive. The man stopped near the training yard fence, watching quietly as the Marines went about their drills. His face carried that look, the one veterans get when they see the next generation in uniform. Pride mixed with pain, nostalgia with quiet understanding. Private Jenkins, one of the youngest recruits, noticed the man first. "Hey, check out Grandpa over there," he whispered, nodding toward him. A few of the Marines laughed. "Maybe he's lost. Somebody tell him bingo nights at the VFW, not here," another joked. The old man didn't react. He just kept watching, but as he leaned against the fence, his sleeve slipped up, revealing a tattoo on his forearm. Old, faded ink, cracked like dry earth. It was the emblem of a skull with an eagle's wings wrapped around it, a dagger clenched in its teeth. Above it, barely visible, were the words, "Hellfire Raiders, 1968. Jenkins squinted at it. "What's that?" "Some biker gang," he said, laughing. A few others joined in. "Hellfire Raiders. Sounds like a heavy metal band." The old man glanced over, not angry, just quiet. There was something deep in his eyes. Something none of them could understand. Before anyone could say another word, a sharp voice cut through the laughter. "Marines, at ease, but keep your mouths shut." The tone froze everyone instantly. They turned to see Admiral Ross walking toward them. The base went silent. The man was a legend. His name carried weight from boot camps to battlefields. Everyone straightened their backs. The Admiral's gaze went from the Marines to the old man. Then, for the first time, his stern face softened. "Corporal, is that you?" The old man smiled faintly. "It's been a long time, Admiral." Ross stepped closer, eyes glinting with recognition. Then, without another word, he reached up and rolled up his own sleeve. The Marines gasped. There, inked deep into the Admiral's weathered skin, was the same tattoo. The Hellfire Raiders emblem, faded, but unmistakable. For a moment, no one spoke. The air itself seemed to still. Ross turned to the young Marines, his voice steady. "You boys see this tattoo? You just laughed at a man who wore it long before most of you were born. The Hellfire Raiders weren't a gang, or a club. They were a reconnaissance unit in Vietnam. Smallest team in the field, and the most feared. These men went behind enemy lines for weeks. No backup, no extraction plan, just guts, faith, and each other." The old man looked down at his arm, his voice low. "A few of us made it home. Most didn't." Jenkins swallowed hard, his earlier smirk gone. Admiral Ross continued, "This man right here, Corporal Dean Hunter, saved my life. 1968, Da Nang Province. Our bird got hit. We were surrounded. I caught shrapnel in the leg, couldn't move. The corporal here carried me through the jungle, under fire, for 6 miles. 6 miles. While bleeding himself. That tattoo, every man in that unit earned it with blood." The old Marine gave a faint shrug. "Just did what needed to be done, sir." Ross smiled, the kind of smile that carried decades of respect. "You did more than that, son. You gave me my life back." The young Marines stood there, silent now, the laughter long gone. The air was thick with the weight of history, of realization. Ross turned back to them, his voice hard but not angry. "You think honor wears clean uniforms and polished boots. You think respect comes from stripes on your sleeve. No, it comes from sacrifice, from walking through hell and coming back with your brothers." He placed a hand on the old veteran's shoulder. "When you see a man like this, you stand tall. You listen. Because this," he said, pointing to the faded ink. "This is more than a tattoo. It's a grave marker for every man who didn't make it home." One by one, the young Marines approached. Their faces were pale, eyes downcast. Private Jenkins stepped forward first, his voice cracking slightly. "Sir, I'm sorry, sir." The old man gave him a small nod. "No harm done, son. You didn't know." But the way he said it carried something deeper. Forgiveness, yes, but also understanding. The kind only a veteran could give. The Admiral turned to the group. "You'll all be lucky if, one day, you carry a mark that means half as much as his." He looked at Hunter. "Corporal, we're having a memorial tomorrow for the fallen. I'd be honored if you'd join me." The old man hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Wouldn't miss it." The next morning, the base flag fluttered at half-mast. Rows of Marines stood at attention, the sound of boots on gravel echoing like drums of remembrance. At the front, Admiral Ross and Corporal Hunter stood side by side. The old man wore a freshly pressed jacket, the Marine Corps emblem gleaming faintly on his chest. His tattoo was visible now, worn, proud, alive. As the bugle began to play taps, tears welled in the eyes of more than a few Marines. When the ceremony ended, Jenkins walked up again. "Sir, if you don't mind, could I get one of those tattoos? Not the same one, but something to remember this by." The old man smiled. "You don't earn it with ink, son. You earn it with heart. But maybe one day, you will." Ross chuckled softly. "He's right. Tattoos fade, but the things that matter, courage, brotherhood, sacrifice, those never do." The young Marines nodded, their faces changed. They saw the old man differently now. Not as a stranger, but as what he truly was, a piece of living history. Later that evening, as the sun sank behind the barracks, Jenkins spotted Hunter sitting alone on a bench overlooking the field. He approached quietly. "Mind if I sit?" Hunter gestured to the spot beside him. "Go ahead." They sat in silence for a while, watching the sky turn gold and crimson. "Sir," Jenkins said finally, "you ever think about them? The ones who didn't make it back?" Hunter's eyes softened. "Every day. You never stop. But that's the thing, son, you live your life for them. You smile, you laugh, you carry on. Because if they could, they'd want you to." Jenkins nodded slowly. "I'll remember that." Hunter looked at him, his voice low. "Good. Because someday, when you're the old man at the fence, you'll want someone to remember too." They sat there as the sun dipped below the horizon, the sky darkening to purple. For a long moment, nothing needed to be said. A few weeks later, Corporal Dean Hunter passed away peacefully in his sleep. On his bedside table lay a folded Marine Corps flag, a worn dog tag, and a small photo of the Hellfire Raiders, young men smiling, arms slung around each other, unaware that their legacy would outlive them all. At his funeral, the entire base turned out. The flag was presented to his daughter, tears streaming down her cheeks. And among the crowd stood Private Jenkins, now with a small tattoo on his arm. Not the skull or the dagger. Just 3 words: earn their legacy. Admiral Ross noticed and gave him a silent nod of approval. The ceremony ended with the same haunting sound of taps echoing across the field. The wind rustled the flags, and somewhere in that sound, it felt as if the old veteran's laughter was carried away, free at last, home at last. So the next time you see an old man with faded ink on his arm, or a tattered cap that says, "Vietnam Vet," don't laugh. Don't look away, because behind every scar, every tattoo, there's a story, one written not in words, but in courage. Those tattoos aren't fashion, they're memorials. They're reminders that freedom isn't free, it's paid for by men and women who gave everything so the rest of us could stand here today.